What's going on, YouTube? Today we are going to dive into the four fundamentals. You know how we love our numbers and all these hooks. So the four fundamentals of building a personal brand for a financial advisor. So before we dive into that, like, subscribe, do all the things that we need you to do to reach more people on the platform. Um, so as we dive into this idea of personal branding for financial advisors, at Brand Builders Group, we're at this point, we're 600-700 clients that are part of our membership program as of the time of recording this video. But bottom line is we're working with hundreds of individuals representing hundreds of different companies across probably every sector of the economy at this point. And what's interesting is that there's something a little unique about the approach we take when it comes to building your personal brand to drive growth of your business. There's a little unique approach we take for each different sector, right? Each different industry. That's really kind of the expertise you're paying for when you come work with a firm that specializes in personal branding like we do. Is we've worked with so many different clients across so many industries. We understand the nuances, right, of what works, what doesn't, when it comes to leveraging personal branding in certain spaces. And so today I want to take you into those four fundamentals of what financial advisors need to really understand and embrace when it comes to building their personal brand to drive growth of their firm. So key number one, we're going to pull up the old whiteboard for this because you know how I love the whiteboard. So key number one is that they have to figure out how to uniquely position themselves in the market. So number one, we'll call it the DNA, right? If you look at it at the end of the day, most financial advisors, they're selling kind of the same thing, right? Is I can help you be smart about how to invest your money and make sure you have money available for you when you get into retirement or whatever, right? So on the surface, when you look at the product or the service, there's not a lot that separates from one to the other, right? So that's why it's really important for you to kind of do some of the deep work on how do we uniquely position ourselves? What is unique about our business and primarily me as the individual, right? If it's a big firm, there may be multiple personal brands, multiple individuals that are out there using their personal brand to drive awareness and traffic back to the business. But the bottom line is if you don't use the individuals inside your firm as a strategic sales and marketing mechanism, you more often than not have a hard time differentiating yourself from the competition. So we're going to say this key number one, right, is how do you figure out your DNA, your brand DNA? What is unique about your business, the people inside it, etc. And so some of the key things we do there is figuring out like what's the core problem you solve, what's your unique approach to solving it, what's your promise you're making to your clients. Basically they're struggling with something, you're promising to take them to a destination, someplace that they want and are interested and they're trying to get to, etc. Who are you focused on serving? How are we going to make money? But the bottom line is, how do we do all that, but also be looking at kind of the individuals, what's unique about you as an individual, et cetera, right? So those are all those key things we need to do to basically figure out your brand DNA and how to uniquely position you in the market. So you're not just like every other FA out there, okay? Frankly, that's why we see the professional services space, insurance agents, real estate agents, financial advisors, lawyers, et cetera. Those types of businesses are heavily based on one or more individuals. And thus, it's even more important to figure out how we elevate the uniqueness of those individuals and your unique approach to how you're serving clients, who you're serving, how you do it as a key part of how you differentiate from competition and drive growth of your business. So anyway, step one is you have to figure out your brand DNA. Step two is we're going to say your process. All right. So what is your process? So you're again, a lot of our clients, they may be selling a course or a membership program or a coaching curriculum or a consulting kind of service or whatever, right? And so they have some information product or some kind of thing they're selling. In these cases, you're not really doing that. You're selling a service, right? You're selling access to some packaged products that you're kind of a reseller of, frankly. And so how do we kind of create a methodology? Like, how do we create some set of information that rises above the products that, again, all your competitors more than likely are selling as well, that if you're just pushing the same thing they're pushing, why should I work with you versus them, right? So another key thing, in addition to your DNA and your uniqueness, all that stuff we talked about as step one, is what's your methodology? How do you take somebody from over here that's struggling, right, with some problem over here to where they're doing well, right? It's step 1 through 4, right? A 4-step process or whatever it is, right? So you are the expert on why the people over here are struggling with what they're struggling with. So that also makes you the expert on what they need to do to get over here to where they're thriving and everything's going great in their life as it pertains to your area of expertise. So naturally that puts you in a position to say, like, well, how do you do it? Like, what's the journey look like? What are the 4 steps, the 6 steps, the 10 steps, whatever, right? And so that's where you can kind of come up with your own unique value prop, your own unique methodology, something that instills a lot of confidence in the prospect, and ultimately creates consistency in the stages, the process you run them through to deliver consistent results for them at the end of the day. So that's key number 2. Key number 3, right, is presentation. I'm going to just say pres, right? So what is the presentation? So we all know that at the end of the day, the fastest path to drive awareness of you as an individual, kind of expand your platform, have more influence, drive more traffic back to whatever you're selling, is to get in front of other people's audiences. Who's your ideal client? Who are other people that have already gathered them? How do I get in front of them? But then what do you say is, what in the world do I say when I get in front of them? And keep in mind, you could be getting in front of them as a guest on a podcast. You could be getting in front of them as, like giving a presentation at an event or a dinner you put on or whatever, right? Bottom line is, you have to know, when I've got a bunch of my ideal client in front of me, what in the world do I say to deliver tons of value, but to leave them in a place where they want to take that next step to do business with me, ideally, right? So the way we determine what is this presentation, like, what are you going to say? And also remember, like, could be a formal presentation, or the same presentation could be content that you pull from and use as talking points when you're being interviewed on somebody else's podcast, for an example. All right. So step 3, though, is this presentation, and what do we talk about? All right. So naturally you're saying, hey, 1 through 4, I have this proven process. There's this methodology we use and we've perfected over all these years to take people that are struggling with XYZ and help them move into a place where they're thriving with all these other things, right? Now, today, we don't have time to cover all 4 parts of this process, right? But I wanted to take you through 2 of the fundamental or foundational steps to get started in the right way and set yourself up for success, right? So you preview kind of the high level methodology, and then you do a deep dive on a subset. And then on the back end of that talk, you have that call to action to say, hey, if you're interested in taking the next steps to get help with moving through the full process, or maybe you just have some questions about some of the stuff I covered today, schedule a call with me here, get my business card after the talk here, do whatever, right? So that's that call to action. But the bottom line is, again, this process, this proprietary methodology that differentiates you from the competition and instills a lot of confidence, right? You're leveraging that again for your presentation, but just to preview at a high level, then do a deep dive on, 1 through 2, like a subset, and then a CTA at the end, right? So those are kind of the 3 things: how to uniquely position yourself, your brand DNA, what's your unique methodology, your process that you're going to use for marketing and sales and delivery purposes. How do we take a subset of that process and package it into a really killer presentation that you can lean on and leverage as you get in front of your ideal client, whether you're a guest on a podcast, giving a talk at a dinner, giving a talk at an event, networking, at some event, whatever it may be. Now, the 4th thing, I'm gonna put it down here, is really leveraging all of this as part of your sales and marketing efforts, right? We'll put out other content, but basically this process can pump into your content marketing efforts. This pumps into your, outbound, sales and marketing efforts. You're going out, pitching people, saying, hey, I'd love to come just deliver value add content. Your process methodology is showcased on your website. Again, there's all these downstream sales and marketing activities that are going to be used to get in front of your ideal client, drive traffic back. You're going to leverage these foundational things, your uniqueness, your brand DNA, your process, your methodology, your pitch, or your presentation. Those three things are really foundational to how you go to market in a unique and different way from the competition, and ultimately use yourself as an individual to be the distributor of a lot of this. Thus, people get to know you as a thought leader in the space, trust you as a thought leader in the space, and want to take the next step to do business with you, versus the competition down the street or wherever that may be. So again, if you're somebody that's in professional services, specifically a financial advisor, you're not selling a widget or a coaching program or whatever, trying to figure out how to leverage some of these strategies to build your personal brand to drive traffic, and primarily do it to help you differentiate from your competition. These are those 4 foundational things that you need to be embracing and leveraging to kind of build and monetize your personal brand to drive growth of your financial advisory practice.